Alright, the caramel is just about done here. Probably be another 5 minutes or so, but it'll be done soon. You can tell it's very thick. It's condensed quite a bit. Yeah, it's much more lava-like. If you can read that, it's almost at 230. I still have about 12 degrees more to go. Again, I'm trying to get to that soft ball mark, which is 240 degrees, because remember, my thermometer is 4 degrees on the cold side, which means that it's 4 degrees hotter than it's reading. Oops. So, I'm going to actually stop recording as I found that the last 10 degrees can go pretty fast, especially when it starts getting in the last 5 degrees. So, I'm going to stop recording and I'll tell you what I'll do. In the meantime, I've pre-measured my vanilla right there. It's about a teaspoon of vanilla. And when this hits the correct temperature that I want, I will take it off the heat, move it over here, and I will mix in the vanilla with that spatula, and then I will dump it into here. And you got to dump it pretty quick. You don't want the caramel to cool and then dump it on top again, as the caramel will have two different consistencies. So try and dump it all in one go if you can. I like to dump any extra caramel. It's usually 2 tablespoons worth for me. I like to dump any extra out on some extra paper you can have laying out or something, and you can eat that pretty quickly. So, alright, so that's what I'm going to do. So the next time you see the caramel, it will be in here. Okay, so the caramels are all wiped out of here. Once the thermometer hit the correct temperature, I poured it in and scooped it out with the spatula. Again, I did mix a teaspoon of vanilla in right before I poured it in. And as I was saying, that's the extra caramel that I'll get to snack on while this is cooling. So this will cool pretty fast, and if I want to cool it faster, I can stick it in the freezer or outside if it's winter out. But this is probably 3/4 of an inch thick. And this will cool, I'll let this cool overnight. You can let it cool about 2 hours in a cooler location, and it should harden up and be fine to eat, I believe. You'll just have to test it. But this makes, going to 244 degrees makes a pretty good consistency for caramel. It's not too super gooey, chewy. It has a little bit of a bite, which I really like. So here is the finished batch of caramel cooling, and we are going to try to make, or we will make, that'll be our finished product right there, all wrapped up and ready to go. These are chocolate dipped with salt, and those are just caramels wrapped up. So I'll go over that tomorrow when I do that, but this is the final step for now. Okay, so the caramel has cooled overnight, and I have just taken it out of this. It came out very easily. Remember, this was buttered and it had parchment paper underneath the caramel. I lifted right out and I flipped it over, and this is what it looks like. You can see it's about 3/4 inch thick, and it will press under my finger. It is not so hard where it won't budge, but it will budge under the weight of my finger when I press on it. So it's a good consistency. The caramel won't sink on you when you're cutting it. It cuts pretty easily. So now I'm just going to cut the caramel into pieces, and then I will start wrapping or dip them in chocolate. So I'm cutting the caramels. I just wanted to show you. This seems to work pretty well. Cut little strips of caramels off the end, and I kind of outline it with my knife. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Outline it with my knife to make it as straight as possible, and then I do a few of them, and then I cut them into rows and columns, and they come out pretty nice. And I do actually like to have a little bit of variation in size. These end ones are pretty small, these ones are like medium, these ones are a little larger. And that's just because different people like different amounts of good chewiness in their mouth. Not everyone likes a huge gob of chewiness, so yeah, experiment with the size that fits you best and have fun cutting different shapes. This is my little helper here. I'm not quite sure what he's up to. Alright. So a lot of my caramels are cut up. I'd say about 2/3, so you can see how many caramels this actually makes. Let's see, compared to my hands, I mean, these aren't small caramels by any means. Now what I'm going to do, I could just wrap them up from here, but I'm actually going to add chocolate to them. So I've got a double boiler going here, just a pot with a bowl on top. And I've got these dark melting wafers from Ghirardelli for candy making and dipping. And I've actually, the flavor's really good on these. The wafers themselves, they look kind of like this. They taste really good. But yeah, they work really well. Wait till, mix it up, wait till it's nice and runny chocolate, and then dip them in there with a fork. So I'll tell you, or I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Alright folks, my chocolate is all melted. It's very runny. And this is the consistency you want. I'm trying to stir it around so you can see. It's just, it's pretty liquidy. I recommend the melting wafers because it already has oil or some type of hard oil mixed into it. And what I mean by hard oil is when it's at room temperature, it's a solid. If you just try chocolate chips by themselves, I found that they're pretty stiff and it makes a very, very chocolatey caramel. So if you like that, go for it, but I actually like the chocolate coating to be a little bit thinner. I think you could probably remedy it with regular chocolate chips if you just add some shortening. Don't add butter because butter has water in it and it will seize your chocolate. So I ran into that problem once. Alright, so I'll show you how I do this. I've already got a few dipped there. And I've got my little salt dish there ready for pinching salt on top. So drop my caramel in. I just kind of roll it around with my fork until it's coated on all the edges. I like to try and get the top of my caramel on the bottom side of my fork, and then I just tap it. And I let all that excess chocolate come off. I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to flip it over and just kind of let it fall off the fork, which it will do eventually. And the less slidage you have, if you can see the little bit right down at the bottom there, it slid a little bit. This one's a better example. To make a better looking caramel, you don't want that, so be cautious of that. And I like to put wax paper on a pan because the caramels will slide around, so be careful with that. If you just have it on wax paper on the countertop, if you're just going to leave them there, that's fine. But okay, now I'm going to add a pinch of salt to the tops of these, and you do have to do it, after every 4 or 5 caramels. Otherwise the chocolate will dry up. Actually, this one may have already dried. But yeah, just do it to what you think looks good and kind of copy the candy shops you may have seen these at. So there you have it. Chocolate covered caramels with salt on top. You can use flake salt, like a sea salt. I couldn't find that. I was at Target and all they had was a coarse kosher salt, which looks like this. So, but coarse kosher salt tastes wonderful, and these little caramels are really delicious. Alright, I'll do a bunch more and then I'll video again. So these caramels are all finished here and they are drying. They already have the salt on there, like you saw me do earlier. And one batch makes quite a bit of caramels, so this is just a little bit of the batch here. Well, this is like 2/3 of the batch here. And then if we go over here, I wanted some regular caramels too, so I cut these up a little bit larger. And I'm wrapping them, so you can see here, it's like a little professional candy. I'll show you how to wrap them here. Let's see if I can get this set up. Oh, that probably won't work. Oops. Well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to wrap them, but anyway, get squares. If you can see, I use wax paper, and I cut a bunch of them out in the beginning, and they're like, I don't know, like 3 by 3 or 4 by 4 squares. So you just wrap them up, and then when you twist the ends, make sure that the ends go either both forward or both backward, and that way when you pull on both the ends, the caramel will twist out. Alright, I hope you've enjoyed making caramels with me today, and until next time.